this, by the way.
Yes, that is sick. What is that?
I got it from a local lady in Tulum in Mexico.
Okay.
And I had no
Dude, I
idea
want to
what
go
it
to Tulum so bad. How was that?
crazy, man.
Crazy?
I'd recommend so Tulum downtown is cheaper.
Okay.
The Tulum strip is crazy expensive.
Okay. So stay off
Um,
the strip. It's kind of like Vegas.
but basically, Playa del Carmen is just down the coast. Really
Okay.
easy, like one bus. Really good.
Nice.
Yeah, I got this from a local. It's a wrestler in an Adidas tracksuit
That's super
with
cool.
with Mother Mary looking over him.
Nice. So you've been doing this music thing for a while. Did you think that you would end up where you are today with all the accomplishments that you've achieved so far?
Yeah, so it's funny. 'Cause I talk about this quite a lot, like with my partner, my
Hmm.
housemate, and some other friends in the industry. And I don't know, I've always known I was going to get to this point, and that's because from an early age I realized as long as you stay consistent at
Right.
something, you're probably going to get somewhere with it.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean I'm going to be the world's biggest Grammy winner ever, all this stuff. It's not that, but it
Yeah.
means I'm probably going to get somewhere.
Yeah. Shoot
So
for the stars and you might hit the moon, right?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I've never doubted and that I was going to get somewhere because with each release and with each little accomplishment, I'm like, well, this is something I once dreamed of and now I have it.
Hmm.
So what's the difference between that and doing a world tour? It's just time, and
Right.
I just need to keep up with what I'm doing. So I've never doubted that, and I've got a few other friends that are the same. They've never doubted they'll get somewhere. It's just the hardship
Yeah.
and the time and the self-doubt and everything combining within that in between that time
Yes.
that comes along with it basically. But yeah, never doubted it really.
That's awesome. When you did find out like you want to do music for a career, how old were you during that time?
So it's,
When did that finally like officially click for you?
yeah, it's funny. So I'm 26 now,
Okay.
and I was 16 when I wanted to do that. It's
Hmm.
because at the time I was in the RAF cadets here in the UK.
What is that? I'm not sure what that is.
So it's the Royal Air Force.
Oh, okay, got you. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I was training, I was shooting, and I also wanted to be a pilot. So I was the
Okay.
best marksman on site because I was in the York barracks, and we had on the York site we had a barracks, so we actually were able to shoot on
Right,
site.
right.
And I was doing that with my friends, and I wanted to be a pilot, but then obviously I was going to have to get laser eye surgery and all this stuff. And then as I was growing up, I didn't really want to be in the military. I was like, this doesn't really align with who I am as an individual. Now I'm becoming my own
Yeah.
individual. So I went to a Skrillex show. It was Skrillex and Flux Pavilion on his
Dude,
first mothership
it's
tour.
literally every interview I do, everyone's like, it's
Yeah,
Skrillex, it's Skrillex, it's Skrillex. Everything is like, it's crazy how big of an impact Skrillex has had on almost literally anyone that I talk to. Like this
it's
whole
wild,
industry
isn't
is,
it?
yeah, it's nuts.
Like he is the modern day prodigy,
Yep.
yeah, it is wild. And he's obviously got his comeuppance now. Like I was talking to, I was Skylark came to mind recently. He was hanging out with Noisia,
Yep. Yep.
and he heard a passing conversation, and they were saying Skrillex has fuck off money now. And the term fuck off money is literally it's infinite.
Yep.
So all year round, he just does literally what he wants,
Yep.
which is wild. But yeah, so I went to go see that show, and afterwards I said to my mum, I'm like, look, I'm quitting RAF. I want to do this. And my mum's rule has always been give it a month, and if you feel the same way in a month, as long as it's not something totally mental, she'll respect the decision.
Absolutely. Yep.
So after a month, which I think is great, and I try and live by that.
Yeah.
After a month, I felt the same. So she was like, "Right, hand in your uniform." So I handed in my uniform at Air Cadets, and pursued this.
What is that process like? Because I know, like for like at least America, we have to, um, it's almost like a contract. So you get like a 4-year term or whatever if you're in the military. How does that work? Because you're from London, right?
So I'm from York.
Oh, okay, okay.
That's actually the old capital of the UK. It used to
Oh,
be
wow.
the
Yeah,
capital.
I need to be more educated, man.
I only know that because I live from there. If I wasn't from there, Joe, I wouldn't have a
Yeah,
clue.
yeah. Turning in your uniform though, were you like on some sort of a contract or like how did that work? Yeah, were you just able to quit?
It was different because I was in cadets, so I wasn't actually in the actual
Oh,
RAF.
gotcha, gotcha,
Yeah, I
gotcha.
wasn't like fully.
That makes
Yeah,
sense.
I wasn't a job yet. I was in the cadets part of it, and I was in it for a year and a half, 2 years.
Okay.
But it's like my mum's side of the family were mainly military anyway.
That's usually what
So,
happens. It's like
yeah,
that's just what my family did. It's kind of what I know where I'm from. So
yeah.
yeah, it's cool. Once you did become a musician though, like once you did take that leap, did you start with electronic music like off the bat, or were you like playing instruments? What was kind of your early phases of becoming a musician?
Yeah, man. So I was originally I had FL Studio. I got a laptop for my birthday and I got FL Studio. And I was making more big room kind of just
Okay.
house stuff, just because it was a kick, like going the
Yeah.
dum, dum. It
There's
was
four
just
on the floor. Yeah.
easier for me to get used to it. I was using loads of samples and trying to make dubstep, but I didn't even know what bass or sound design was. I didn't know anything. So then I tried to learn guitar. I quit that.
Nice.
I tried to learn piano. I quit that because I was like, I don't want to do any of this. I just want to
Yeah.
make music that I saw him playing.
Yep.
That was it.
Yep.
Um, and yeah, then I studied it at school. The teachers were very old school, so they didn't really cater for us wanting to do
I feel
newer
like that
things.
people still don't like there's specialized schools now for electronic music, but like in traditional schools, like
Mhm.
they don't even barely even talk about it.
No, literally that. And like,
Yeah.
funny, so I live here with my girlfriend and one of my best friends. And it was actually me and him back in school when we were 16 that was studying the same course. So we kind of went through a similar thing of
Right.
just, the teachers just didn't cater
Yeah, no.
any of that. But I ended up finding this place in Manchester where I live now. And they were literally called MIDI school, and it was all about like electronic music. They're called School of Electronic Music now. Yeah, and I moved to Manchester when I was 18. So I dropped out of that
Okay.
school and study here, and they were
How far is Manchester from York where you grew up?
like an hour and a half
It's
on
not bad.
train.
Yep.
It literally goes across the UK. So if this is the UK, York's here.
Gotcha.
Yeah, let's say it
Gotcha.
that way.
Gotcha. What were some of your interests like before you got into music? 'Cause obviously, like, were you passionate? Did you have any other passions before? I saw that grew up kind of into sports. You were into bike racing, stuff like that.
Hmm. Yeah, so I guess because we grew up in the countryside, and like a few of our friends had like their parents had farms
Hmm.
and stuff, so we were able to have like a very outdoorsy childhood, which I'm like
That's awesome.
extremely grateful for.
I grew up on a farm as well, so that's awesome.
Oh, sick.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, just having that freedom to even something as simple as just having a walk
Yep.
and then going because there's woods everywhere.
Yep.
So we'd go like, I don't know, chop a little tree down and make something out of it, or make a tree house. Like we'd make tree houses, or we'd have fires, and just that freedom to do that with your friends was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm very grateful for that, especially now that I live in a city, I see the contrast. Yeah, just very outdoorsy. We were always trying to do stuff like we used to listen to the Glitch Mob a lot.
Oh yeah. Love
And
them.
their tracks used to be used on the GoPro advert.
Oh yeah.
Back in the day, we can
Yeah.
make the world stop. So that was like our kind of that was like the spine of what we did. We'd watch that advert, it'd get us psyched up, we'd go find a hill, we'd go down it on rollerblades and
Nice.
stuff like that, you know.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah.
How long were you producing before would you say that you started to really gain traction? Because you've been at it for about 10 years now, right? 26, 16.
Yeah, pretty
How long
much.
did it take you to start seeing results and start being comfortable saying like, okay, like I'm actually doing something here?
Mm. Yeah, I guess so. I'd been making music. I remember between 16 and 18, I've been making music, and some of my friends were like, "You need to release it."
Oh,
I was
you
like,
weren't
"No,
releasing
no."
music. Okay.
Yeah, I was like, "No, I want to get to Manchester first. I want to learn more, then
Hmm.
release music." So I think I was about 19, 20, so maybe
Okay.
6 years ago. And then I'd release on smaller collectives like I don't know if you've heard of them, but Future Collective,
I don't think I
which
have.
they're based in Oregon. It was more like EDM, left field kind of bass wook style music.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Gotcha.
But making it here in the UK, there was no
Way
one was
different.
doing it.
Yeah, no one's doing
Yeah.
that.
Well, there was, or even if they were doing it, there was no crowd for it in the UK, but there was in the
Right.
US.
Yeah.
I was releasing all my music in the US, and I basically just built up on little smaller labels. So Future Collective, this the other one called Crown Collective, which isn't
Hmm.
around anymore, and just some other labels as I built up. And then eventually I then get the release on stuff like Quality Goods, which is
Okay.
Uzi's
Yep.
record label.
Yep.
And I'm starting to get a bit more traction. Um, yeah, and then what actually changed me to go to drum and bass was I just wasn't getting any shows in the UK because I was
Uh,
making lo-fi music. I had like two or three lo-fi songs that did really well on Spotify, and we got like Lowly Palace.
yep.
So I did the first ever music video for them, like
Oh,
ever.
cool.
And again, that was a lo-fi song. But the thing
Uh-huh.
is, that's just not going to get me shows, and it shows that in the long run are going to help
Yeah.
me build a financial stability and
Right.
career and everything. So
Is there anyone in I'm trying to think. Is there anyone in lo-fi that's like actually made a successful career?
oh, yeah, but it's mainly from streams and stuff like Don't
Yeah,
Cry
yeah,
and stuff. Um, they're making a lot of money, like a
yeah,
lot, like five
yeah,
figures a month. But in terms of shows, I guess I'm not really in the scene anymore. But
yeah.
a good example maybe is Laxity,
Oh yeah, yep.
because he doesn't just do lo-fi.
Right,
He
right.
does a wide range, but predominantly his sound kind of sits in that.
Stems from that, yeah.
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 So yeah, there is people doing bits.
Interesting. So then once you switch over to drum and bass, so then you got originally in 2018, I saw that you got signed to Circus, or you did some work with Circus. Was that like kind of
Yeah,
your first big label that you
I think it
worked
was.
with?
Yeah, because that was with Duke and Jones. So Duke and Jones have been
I
friends
love
with
them.
now.
I love them. Their
Yeah,
music
they're
is so
great.
good.
Like they live not far.
Oh, cool.
From me. That's how we originally met because when I went to, because we'd go to ADE every year,
Yep.
Amsterdam Dance Event, and we ended up just going with each other every year. And we became really, really close friends. And I've seen them go from producing in their bedroom to now having a penthouse suite.
Ah, sick.
So
That's a
it's like
cool
they've
growth.
grafted as well. Yeah, it's cool, man.
Yeah.
They've like Luke was in his because there's two of them. One went off to uni, and the other one, Luke, just stayed in his like childhood bedroom until he was like 22. Which loads of us do. But
Right,
as in
right,
like he
right.
was specifically there just doing like just like making beats and it
How
worked.
how old is he now?
I think he's my age, 26. Oh
Okay.
no, so no, 24 then he would have been. I think it was 2 years ago that they moved out.
Wow. Just in the last couple of years, they've
Mm.
leaps and bounds.
They've
That's
gone like
awesome.
it becomes exponential, and that's where
Yeah.
I am right now. It's kind of been doing this, and I'm like I'm about here right now, just
Yep.
before I'm gonna go. But yeah, that was really cool. We did the collab that got signed to there. That was my first like yo, like I used to be an ambassador for these guys. I used to put stickers around the
Yeah.
city for them and stuff. So that was really cool. And then we did one for Deadbeats, which was another
Okay.
collab.
Yep.
And then we had another sick tune, but understandable. It was we decided not to release it in the end because three collabs kind of becomes a thing, you know.
Yeah. Yep.
And we were both in very different stages of our career, and I also was kind of going through a transition with my sound, so that one didn't get released.
Yep.
But then yeah, I just had to change it up because I was like, I'm not getting bookings. I need to make a decision here, or else I'm just going to be stuck in a plateau.
Yep.
So I sent my music to a label called Unchained Asia, who
Okay.
are based
I haven't
out in
heard of that, but yeah.
Shenzhen. Yeah, they're really cool. They're based out in Shenzhen.
Okay.
And the only reason I heard of them was I was looking at what other friends had released.
Hmm.
And one of my friends had released Unchained Asia. It looked like they had a smaller bar of entry. So I sent them music. I only wanted to give them one tune. They rung me back and they were like, "We want all three of them." In fact, no, it's four tunes because there was one edit version. They were like, "We want all four of them." And I was like,
Damn.
I
Yeah.
don't really want to do it. And he was like, "Well, how can we gain your trust?" And I was like, "Well, I don't know. What? I don't know." And he was like, "Right, we'll give you a show. If you send us the EP and you let us sign it, we'll give you a show." And I was like, "That's exactly what I want." So I was like,
Yeah.
"Right,
That's what I'm working for. Yeah.
yeah." So I was like, "The tracks are yours." They booked me for a show in London. I go down to London. There was like some other artists on there. They were all drum and bass mainly, and there was a
Okay.
guy called Sub Yao on there who did more of a halftime
Hmm.
sort of set. And no one knew who I was. Obviously, I'm just this fucking new guy. I was talking to people, got friends with people in the crowd, and then eventually, I was like, "Yeah, I'm playing." Like, "Oh, we're excited to see you set," and they let me close out the night. And I started off. I was so excited. I had this track from Eunice. I dropped it, and everyone just went for a cigarette
Oh man.
because it was halftime and they wanted drum and bass.
Right.
And then when because my set naturally progressed to drum and bass anyway, everyone went mental. It was just the most euphoric set I'd ever done. It was
That's
my
cool.
first time of because I've been playing house parties since I was like 16,
Hmm.
15.
So you already had
Uh,
experience like reading the crowd then,
yeah, because
kind of. Yeah.
yeah, that's how I started. Like
Yeah.
when my mum got me, she had like a really, really small pot of money for when I got to the age to do driving lessons. She was going to help me out.
Right.
But I spent it all on speakers for these.
Nice.
Um, so yeah, me and my friends, we would just go around to people's kitchens and throw house parties, basically,
Nice.
which is great in
I feel like
exchange for my.
I feel like when you have a passion for music, it's like that. I mean, I used to do that. I used to throw parties, like just house parties and stuff. Like that's kind of just
Mhm.
like it's like eventually, like your sights are set on like eventually, like I want to get to this certain point, but like, what can we do now? Throwing house
Mm,
parties with your friends, such good times. I miss
mm.
those times.
Yeah, definitely, man. I definitely want to loop it back to that in some way at some point. Somehow, like throwing actual events in houses could be
Yeah,
crazy, man.
right. Who were
Just
some of your early drum and
uh,
bass inspirations? Who were some of the guys that you were looking up to as you began making it?
mainly, well, because my mum's heavily into electronic music as well, so she got me into like Prodigy and Pendulum.
Okay, yep. Yeah,
So
because
yeah,
it's pretty big in the UK, huh?
yeah,
Drum and bass is
massively.
like huge in the UK. They
Mm.
play it on like normal radio, right?
Yeah, it's like main time
Yeah,
radio.
yep. Which
Definitely.
is definitely the exact opposite in the States.
Yeah,
Even
yeah,
people who are into EDM, like it's starting to gain some traction finally in the last couple of years, but like it's still
yeah.
like an super underground genre.
Mm.
Yeah,
Which is good though, because it's allowing people like myself, Imanu, and
yeah,
Buchin, it's allowing us time to then work, get our visas, and get over there. So we're the
yeah,
ones putting it properly,
yeah.
along with all the. To be fair, I say that you've got people like Justin Hawkes and
He was on my
Kamal.
show earlier this year.
Yeah,
Love
nice.
Justin. Yeah, cool guy.
So yeah, and they're doing awesome. So
More recently with the pandemic, you've been making, you said in the last couple of years especially, you've been making some serious moves. Something that you wanted to talk about a little bit was your Patreon. You have a podcast of your own,
mm.
and you have the Patreon. What else do you have on your Patreon other than the podcast? I know that's the primary thing.
Yeah, well, I guess so. The main purpose of the Patreon, there's like two pillars I have on it.
Okay.
The first pillar is to be able to, because when I was early on in my career, I had a business tutor from the place that I was studying. He was like the
Yep.
business guy, but I just kept asking him questions outside of school time and all that sort of stuff, and he really helped. Um, I want to do that for other people now, because without him as a mentor, I wouldn't have necessarily had the right tools so early on to be able to
Yeah.
get to where I am now. So I'm trying to teach people those tools, trying to show them how they can get from where they are now to where they want to
Yeah.
be in the career, and then all the realistic little goalposts in between
Yeah.
that. Just breaking it down because it can be so daunting.
Extremely daunting.
Like, what
Yeah.
are the steps? Like, okay, I release music and I've got to post about it, but what else?
Yep.
So and just teaching about the business aspect, contracts, everything like that. I also teach production, so showing people like
Okay.
my workflow and if there's any little secrets, nooks and crannies that they want to learn.
Do you mainly teach just drum and bass, or do you teach other genres as well?
Yes, it's all genres, and I do
Okay.
need to. I need to put that on there because a few people have asked that.
Yep.
But it's any genre because I've made
So
everything
yeah,
from
you've
lo-fi to like indie.
yeah.
Yeah, it's all genres. Like I've had one of my guys that I was doing business tuition with. He was doing lo-fi, and he's been picked up by Universal now.
Ah, cool.
So
Very
there's
cool.
like proof in
That's
the
a big
pudding.
step.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But then the other pillar is to hopefully become self-sustained just off Patreon for
That's
me.
smart. That's smart.
And so then the rest, 'cause I'm full-time music now anyway, but if I
Yeah.
can just be there with Patreon, the rest is bonus.
Yep. And you have some financial security at that point too, a little bit more,
Yeah,
because if things like the pandemic happen ever again, you're chilling because you have
exactly.
the income off that, your main income's off
Yeah,
that, and you can,
totally right.
regardless if there's a pandemic or not, you can still make money. I feel like a lot of people switched into and created Patreons during that
Mm.
time. Did that influence you at all when creating your Patreon, or
Well, luckily at the start of lockdown, I finessed a job as marketing manager where I used to study.
okay.
I'd never marketed anything except for my own music.
Yep.
So I just went in with like my head high. Just I made this whole spiel up. I stooged a job that didn't even really exist at the time for them.
Fake it till you make it,
Uh,
man.
yeah, literally. And then I worked my way up to becoming marketing manager. And the guy that was my manager, I ended up being his manager. So
That's
yeah, it was pretty
crazy.
wild. And then I worked there for literally the whole of the pandemic. And then December just gone, I became full-time music
Nice. Awesome. Awesome.
and created the Patreon then.
So I want to go back to talking about consistency, and I
Mm,
know that's like a big key to something that you attest to being successful
mm.
in what you've been doing. What does creating consistency mean to you, and how have you done it in your own life and your own career?
Yeah, it's interesting, man. I guess the first and foremost, it has to work for you, like for the individual. Because I've got friends that post like every day, and I've got friends
Yeah.
that post once a month.
Right.
So first and foremost, I had to work out what worked for me. And what works for me is I use Instagram as an example to say if I start with social media, I use Instagram as the spine and the sort of notebook of what it is that I'm doing and my achievements.
Hmm.
So I'll only really post in there when I've either got an achievement or
Ah, okay.
do like a photo dump of like life stuff,
Right, right.
like a personal diary.
Well,
I'm
because
trying to
that's important for to build a brand too. People get to know you. People, that's an
exactly.
important piece of it.
Hmm. Exactly, and I have to make it work for me because this is something that I want to do until I
Right.
die.
Yeah.
So if it doesn't work for me, I'm not going to be able to do it in the long
Yeah.
run.
If you're not able to be yourself online and build that into your brand, yeah, it's not going to be a
Hmm.
long term.
Exactly, because if we were sat here now and I had like a shoe company, I was like,
Yep.
look, I want to call it Nike. Say if Nike
Hmm.
didn't exist,
Yeah.
and it'd be an obvious conversation. You'd be like, right, start taking pictures of the shoe, people are wearing it, how you make it and stuff. It's no different for your music,
Yep.
but people get caught up in that because they're like, I just want to make music for the love of it because of all this. It's like, well, so do I, and so do all of us, and you still can.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of having that other bolt on of just spending a little bit of time, 5-10 minutes, twice a week.
Yep.
Let's say half an hour a week. Just do that for your socials and then forget about it, you know? And like say if I'm on public transport, I'll jot it down in notes and lock my
Yeah.
phone.
Dude,
So then
yeah. No, the
Friday.
notes app, when I was younger, I was like, I don't know what to do with this notes app. What am I going to take notes on? Now my notes app is just like filled with stuff that I have to
Yeah.
remember. Like it's like utilize the tools that you have like literally at your fingertips.
Mm.
Something that I saw that was cool too that you do with your Instagram is your Rohan's record box.
Mm.
I love that. I love that you get it. Those are all reels, right?
Yeah.
So when reels started coming out, that's kind of when you started developing that. What kind of
Yeah.
gave you like the idea to do that? What was kind of your game plan with that?
It was a conversation between me and my manager, and we were looking because I was doing track breakdowns, but it just take too long. I had an old laptop that like you could hear the fan in the video of my laptop,
Hmm.
and it was too much work for too little return. So we kind of rethought about it, and yeah, came up with Rohan's record box.
Such a cool
And
idea.
that it's just so easy to do. I need to post the next one. I've just been so busy the past few weeks. Um, Yeah, so I'm posting the next one soon, but it's just so easy to make. I just choose 5 tracks.
Yeah.
I tag the artist in it, and the way I angle it is I put my homies' music in it, my released music, and then I usually put an artist that I want to get on their radar's music in it,
Ah,
just to get people's attention.
right. Yep.
And it
Super
works.
smart.
You've got to be consistent with it again. And like my first ones were getting like anywhere between 5 to 8,000 views. Now I'm getting like 13,000 views. So
Wow. Yeah.
it's a slow burner. And then from there, I've done one for Vision Records. I've done two for UKF now. Yeah.
When did UKF when did you start working with them? How long has that been?
So
Because they're like the big dogs of drum and bass
yeah,
and bass music.
yeah, definitely. That came about. I followed most of the people that work there anyway. So I was like kind of genuinely interacting with their socials. I would
Okay.
never DM them. I would never, nothing like that. Just a simple like, just
Yep.
showing some support. And eventually, even subliminally, my name will be there.
Yep.
And then one of my friends, because I always say you've got to build your tribe. And what I mean by that is helping people out in the industry, make
Yep.
friends in the industry. Don't look for anything in return immediately, but something will come back eventually. And one of which is,
Focus on giving. Focus
well,
on
that's it.
providing value, giving to other people, and it'll come
Yeah.
back tenfold. Yep.
Within your own schedule, though. I would never kill myself doing
Oh
it.
no,
I'm always
absolutely.
making sure.
Yeah.
And one friend that I made is called Martha. She's based in Manchester. She has an all-girl collective, so she runs a collective of
Oh
girls that
sweet.
are DJing. And I did some DJing stuff for them on their radio show. She then ended up working for UKF.
Ah, so that was your connection into
Yeah,
that.
and then
Sick.
then she got me one of the write-ups, which was best album of the year. And then
Nice.
someone else at UKF that same year wrote up best artist of the year. So in
Nice.
the same year, I got those
You
two,
got both.
and then
Sweet.
from there, I released a mix for RL Grimes label.
Oh, Sable Valley.
Yeah,
Yep. Yep. Was that the
and
one that you did with X and G? Was that X and G on that?
so that was the second track I did
That was
for
second.
Say.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, me and X and G are actually working on like a shit ton more music as
I
well.
love their music.
They're so cool,
So
man,
creative. Yeah.
and they're so quick,
Yeah.
really quick. Like if I send them a tune, and in their schedule they have time, they'll send it back to me within like a day.
Yeah.
They're
That's
really
crazy.
quick.
That's super cool.
Yeah, so that mix went out, and Sampo, who runs Pilot Records and part of UKF, he hit me up saying, that first track, is it signed? And I was
Uh,
like, it is signed.
yeah,
Out on Souped Up later this year. And he was like, right, we'll do a premiere. And then from there,
sweet.
the relationship built. I ended up doing content for them. They sent me loads of merchandise. They sent my girlfriend some merchandise as well. And
That's awesome.
it's a good relationship now.
Excellent. All of that wouldn't have happened though if you weren't consistent and can remain consistent from day one.
Mm, exactly.
Um, why do you think some people struggle with creating consistency within their lives?
I reckon, well, probably doubt. There's this
Yeah.
doubt of like, why should I do this? One big hurdle is the strange thing of going from a consumer to someone that just loves music and wants to be a part of it,
Yep.
then try and flip onto the other side where you're the one talking about what it is you're doing. People feel
Yeah.
like they're boasting, feel like they're kind of being stuck up talking about it, but it's not. You're just proud of an achievement. That's all it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
So I think that hurdle, and also just life can get in
Yeah.
the way.
Yeah.
Trying to make money, other just real life stuff.
It's a lot for some people too. I mean, when you were 16, you started at a pretty young age, so it's a
Mm,
little different, I guess. But for me, like I didn't start music until or working in the music industry until I was like in my like 2021. So I
mm,
had like from like 16 to like 20, I had like 4 or 5 years there where like I I was even focused on other, working on other
mm,
things, maybe other career paths and working a job. I'm still, I still work a job. I'm just now finally getting to that point where I'm transitioning into full time. But
mm.
I feel
Nice.
like a lot of time people struggle with juggling so much in their life that it's
Mm,
hard to stay consistent for them. You know what I mean? Like if you have a
mm,
job, you have a 40-hour a week job and you have rent and you have bills you got to pay, you have to literally sit down and like schedule out like, okay, this is the time that I have to work on music. Like you have to treat it as a job. And I think a
mm,
lot of people don't in the early phases don't think about treating your music career as a job quite yet. It's just like, oh yeah,
mm.
cool. I'm just having fun making music. Was that did that happen for you at all? Was that something that you
Yeah.
had to learn how to juggle? Or I know you started, like I said, you started when you were about 16 or whatever. So I didn't know if you had
Mm.
a job back then or what your story's kind of been like. But was there a time that you had to juggle kind of multiple things at once?
Well, yeah, like you hit the nail on the head there, and it's about an early stage. And I say this in all my one-to-ones: see yourself as a full-time musician now.
Yep.
Still have a day job because you
Yep.
need that pillar. You need income. What is it? Income, hobby, and health, something
Yes.
like that.
Yep. Yep.
So as long as you've got, I was like, make sure you eat well. You've got a roof over your head. Make sure you pay your
Hmm.
bills, and you're able to have some sort of hobby. If that's music right now, but still see it as that full time.
Right.
And as soon as you switch your brain into that, you'll start to make better decisions
Yep.
towards that goal. Um, but yeah, so I went to when I came to study in Manchester. Um, my mum, bless her, 'cause the church she goes to in York, loads of people there, bless them, like put a little bit of money in a little pot just to kind of help us
Hmm.
along for like the fees and everything like that. So we had a little bit there to help us financially, and then I ended up getting a job when I was like 18. I think, yeah, doing like table service at the town
Okay.
hall in Manchester. It's like the
Yep.
big one where all the government officials come to and everything like that. So I was doing table service and stuff there. I built my way up in there while doing music, and it was always like music was me. That was my
Yeah. Yeah.
identity. If people ask what I like, who I am, what I do, I was like, oh yeah, I produce. I'm just here to
Yep.
make a bit of cash.
Yep.
That was always the pillar. And then I ended up working in a cafe, which was actually great. I worked 3 days a week, 12 hours each day, gave me enough money, and
Perfect.
then the rest
Yeah.
of the week. And I got holiday pay. So if I wanted to fly to Amsterdam for Amsterdam dance event and stuff, I got paid,
You get paid
you
for
know?
that. Oh, that's so nice. That's so
So
nice.
it was good and it was perfect for that time in my life.
Yeah.
And then I started to see just a little bit more pickup. So that's when then I left there and I stooged the job as the marketing manager.
Okay.
And the reason I say stooge is because I just went in blind, and I would
Yeah.
ring my friends before it, going like, right, they asked me this question. Out, what does that
What
mean?
do I
And they'd
say?
be like, right, okay. So if you go on Google Ads and you do this, I'm like, yep, 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 yep.
Taking notes as you're doing it.
Yeah, literally. And like, if they
Yeah.
ask, I'll just Google it on the job. And like, why not? So what?
Yeah. Yeah.
And they got what they wanted. I got what I wanted.
100%.
Um, yeah. So I'm just trying to stay consistent with at least producing a little bit each week. I tried to do each day, even if it was I just put a kick drum in a different position, just
Yeah. Do
constantly
something.
exercising that muscle. And then yeah, come December, left that position and now
Now you're full time.
time.
Yeah. Was it during that time of, juggling stuff? Was there ever a time that you struggled or lost your consistency or like took a step away at all? Or have you always been like, as soon as you made that decision, you're just like,
Yeah,
I'm going for it. I don't care how long it takes me.
yeah,
I'm working every day.
I feel like naturally I ebbed and flowed anyway. So there'd be
Yeah.
times where I just couldn't really
Well,
make any.
you face that naturally anyways. Even when you are a
Yeah.
full-time artist, it's your creativity, it comes in
Mm.
waves. So
To
dealing
be
with that
honest,
is a big part of
uh,
it.
well, yeah, a significant time about that you just mentioned was actually like the past since December
Okay.
up until about 3 weeks ago was
Okay.
horrible. So I was full
Yeah.
time music. I'm doing a remix for Noisier, and I've just done one for the Upbeats. So the problem with that is I was trying to recreate the wheel,
uh,
and I had a bad time. Every track I sent them, they were like, it's nearly there. And I'm like, fuck, and it's not. Yeah, I was like, sound design's not crazy enough. Da 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 da. And it just wasn't sticking. I was literally trying to recreate the wheel, and I was having a bad time the past few
yeah.
months. Because I'm full time now, there is a bit
There's a
more.
lot more pressure to it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I had a call on my manager, and he was like, "Look, you need to stop what you're doing. You need to not even rethink what you're doing. You need to go back to what it is that you do best."
Yep.
And he said, "Stop thinking with this, and start thinking like from your body. So when you produce, just if you bob in your head, then it's good. So what if it's just an 808 and a snare drum? It sounds good." And then at that moment, I made another version of the Upbeats remix.
Hmm.
This was on the day of the deadline.
Oh,
And they turned around, they were like, right, that's the one. And I got it.
thank you, God.
So yeah, I got it. So and then the noisy one they've accepted, but I'm not happy with it, so I'm like redoing it
Yeah.
right now. So yeah, just trying not to recreate the wheel.
Yeah, that's smart.
And I think
Yeah.
the problem is I was always trying to sound like other people, even
Yeah.
subliminally.
Yep.
At least the past few months
I feel
anyway.
like
And
we
even
all kind of have that. Like, no matter what your
yeah.
job is in the industry, like, even running this podcast, I've stolen ideas from other people that are in the same
Mm,
space, do the same thing. But
mm,
yeah, also you want to be unique too, because that's what's going to set you
mm.
apart and that's going to make you successful. Um,
Well, yeah, that's it. And there's nothing
yeah,
wrong with taking influence,
yeah,
as long as you put it into your own flair and you don't
yes,
rip off people.
yes,
I see no issue with that.
yeah. What would you say to someone who is struggling with staying consistent?
First thing is, are your bills paid?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
food in the fridge. I've because that's where writer's block comes from, man.
yep.
It's like, is everything else, your real life stuff, is that sorted? If not, deal with that and then come to
And then
being
go,
creative.
yeah,
The other thing is like change your space. So in this room, which is like the studio room, which I'm like currently building right
okay,
now, um, I started to become a bit uninspired in here, and it's because the walls are blank. I've identified I need visual, I need more.
yeah,
So
yeah,
what I do is I take my headphones and I just go sit downstairs with my housemates, and there's enough going on there where I'm like, I've got enough going on to allow my brain to do what it needs to do. So changing your scenario, your setting, making sure your bills and everything are paid. And then just spending sessions not on trying to finish any music.
yeah,
Just spend a session on just drums.
yep,
And if you're satisfied with it, right, close the project, come back the next day and just work on some chords. Like really strip it back to basics. And then from there, you build back up again,
yep.
basically. Um, yeah. And just work it into your own schedule. Be realistic. That's
Yeah,
all.
that's the biggest thing. Be realistic. Don't put too much
Mm.
pressure on yourself because otherwise it's going to be damn near impossible to stay consistent with if you're asking too much of yourself.
That's it, man.
Yeah.
And like put the blinkers on because at the end of the day, if you're looking at other people, oh, I want to be where they are, I want to be where they are.
Yeah.
They
You're on a
exist.
completely different journey.
Yeah,
Completely different journey.
that's it, man. And like they exist, so their fan base is going to go to them for them.
Yep.
You are a new thing. You are a whole new thing in the scene. People will come to you for you.
Yep.
And realizing that is a big step.
Oh yeah.
And just keep pushing forward and people come to you. Whatever it is that you do, people will eventually come to you for that, basically.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much for being on the pod today. Before we wrap up, is there anything that we didn't touch on before we get out of here?
No, I'm excited. I could be. Well, I announced this the other day, so
Oh
I'm
yeah.
playing Imagine
Congrats,
Festival.
man.
I appreciate it, man. So
I actually might be going, so
yeah, dude. Well, we'll message close to the
hell
time.
yeah.
And yeah, just listen to my newest remix.
Sweet.
I'm really hyped about that. It's a remix for the Upbeats, and keep an eye on my socials. Just lots of
Awesome.
exciting stuff coming up. I'm currently editing the video from Mexico.
Sweet.
So
I'm
pretty hyped
excited
about
for that.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
go
man.
follow this guy on YouTube too. Let's get that
Yeah, man.
YouTube following up. What do you got planned other than Imagine? What do you got planned coming up this year? Anything that you can give away?
Yeah, so I've got I'm playing Rampage this year, which
Oh
is the
yeah,
world's
can be
biggest.
even bigger. Congrats on that. That's huge.
Yeah, so I'm hyped about that. I'm going back to back with someone, but it's not been announced yet.
Awesome.
And then yeah, I've got that Rampage. I've got Imagine Festival. Basically, there's some life-changing stuff that's potentially coming, but up until something happens,
Hmm.
like I literally can't say.
You're good. You're good. There's
Um,
always stuff that you
but
can't give
when
away.
it does happens, it'd be like I'm gonna do like a big post. I'll probably be
Awesome.
crying on it.
Awesome.
But yeah, we'll just see. Excited,
Sweet.
trying to produce more. Oh yeah, join my Discord as well. The
Oh
Discord's
yeah,
free.
I'm gonna go join that too when we're done.
Yeah, do it. I'm just trying to it's a place for people to share samples, music.
Hell yeah.
I live stream in there, get other artists in and stuff. So yeah.
Awesome. Where can the listeners find you at? What are your socials?
Socials are on Instagram. I'm Rohaan Music, and on everything else, I'm Rohaan Official.
Awesome. Excellent. Go follow him. All that will be linked in the description as well. One last final question. If there's one piece of advice you could tell yourself when you first became a musician, what would that be and why?
Mm, 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 mm. Thing is, I don't really regret things in life
Everything
because
happens for a reason,
I
right?
try and learn from it. So honestly, to be honest, a bit of advice I'd give is just probably spend more time on YouTube.
Yep.
Is what it would have been, and actually pay attention to
It's a
it.
great resource for new producers for sure.
Yeah, probably just said spend more time paying attention to what it is in front of me that I'm trying to learn.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I would have probably learned more quicker. But except for that, I'm in a position which I'm pretty happy with right now.
That's awesome.
So I seem to have done something right.
Hell yeah, definitely.
Or maybe
That's smart.
just, I don't know, eat better early on. My
Yeah.
diet now, but
Back to the pillar. I really like that example, the pillar thing that you were talking about
yeah.
earlier, where it's like you have to take care of your health, you have to you have to have a hobby to have balance, and then you also have to have your income. So
Mm.
until the hobby and income become more
Yeah,
cohesive, then that's your hobby eventually turns into your career. But then you also have to find another hobby again. So I think
exactly.
that's a big portion of it too, is just finding
Yeah.
balance. I really like that example. Thank you for sharing that.